Hi everyone, my name is Chantel and today we're on week 7 for the Drawsome series, but also for me, the last week of the Drawsome series. Drawsome was set up 7 weeks ago by Aurora's Art World and myself. However, I am going to fully hand this over to her. I will explain why. I want to create the best content possible for you, my viewers, which means I am going to focus more on my Friday videos. My projects get more ambitious and I need time to create that content. I only work at night as I look after my little girl during the day, and I want to give her my undivided attention she deserves without me being tired or burned out. So during the evening I have about 3 hours available to me to create. I don't want to burn myself out, so this is a decision that had to be made. But hear me out. I will not stop drawing or unboxing. I will occasionally post an extra video in which I will do these kind of things, like testing out new art supplies, unbox what you sent me, or do a watercolour painting. But the main focus will be on the mixed media projects on Fridays. With mixed media, I mean miniatures made from scratch, polymer clay projects, thrift store makeovers, husband picks projects, dioramas, the Create This series with the hashtag Create This Darkest Raven Designs on Instagram, collaborations, and much more. And on top of that, the occasional unboxing, etc. I hope you will all stick around regardless this change and enjoy the future content. Aurora's Art World is going to continue this series and I know she will be wonderful. So by now you probably will be able to see what I'm creating. I'm sculpting Audrey II, which is the official name of the plant that I'm sculpting from Littleshop of Horrors in a tiny teacup. Because the prompt for this week was TEACUP, and I thought that was fitting and it joins into where my channel is going from now on. First, I attached the cup to the saucer by putting some liquid Sculpey to the base of the cup, placing it on the saucer and baking it. I then filled the teacup with tin foil, not to waste any clay, and covered it with a layer of brown clay for the soil. I then created the main shape of the head and mouth of the flower with tin foil and covered it with Sculpey. All the products and tools that I use for this project can be found in the description box below. I sculpted the teeth out of translucent Sculpey and baked them before sticking them into the mouth of the plant with some liquid Sculpey. I added a tongue, tentacles, lips, leaves, and added details to the entire piece before baking it. Here I'm adding the tentacles which the plant has, and that was basically the easiest part to do. Then moving on to the leaves. I have to say that the tentacles were easy, but this was also easy. You basically cut out a leaf shape and put some vines in the leaves and place it on the plant and shape it to whatever shape you want it to be. Didn't really have to add many details because it just worked out. Then onto the painting. I used regular acrylic paints, nothing too fancy. At some point I would love to get the folk art paints, as they're just incredible for working with polymer clay, but for now I will work with what I have. I could have used colored polymer clay, but I wanted to try and test my painting skills. I started with the base layer of green and covered the whole thing except for the mouth, lips and vines in green paint. I made the vines brown, but I had to go over this a couple of times as the paint simply wasn't opaque enough, even though it's a dark color. Then it was time to add more color. I started with yellow for some highlights around the lips and the top of the head of the flower. I also added some lighter green to the leaves. In the vines of the leaves I added a muted blue color, almost purple. It adds more dimension to the leaves. I also added that same blue color, blue purplish color, to the back of the head of the flower, and on top of that and the vines of the leaves I added a bright pink, but I kind of muted down to a magenta-y purple, which really gives dimension and character to the flower. Next up is the main part, the mouth. The plant has pinky red lips. I'm adding this with a sponge as the paint appears to be more opaque when applied this way. The inside of the mouth was a bit tricky. I mixed a purplish red color for this and also applied the main parts with a sponge, as it was easier to apply this way with the teeth being in the way, and again it was more opaque. I used the paintbrush where I could. To keep the teeth white or translucent, as I use translucent clay, I often go over the teeth with a clean paintbrush and just water, just to brush off any excess paint that is left on the teeth, because of it's very fiddly painting inside the mouth. And yes, it's easier to use colored polymer clay, which I probably will do in the future, but for now I had to run with what I did, and this seemed to be an okay solution. And of course we cannot forget the tongue as the final bit that needs to be painted. I mixed a very dark deep red and applied it with a sponge again. And as you can see, the red stands out nicely against the purple. And then for more detail I added a purple line in the middle of the tongue, just to let it stand out a little bit more. And here I'm adding just a few finishing touches, cleanups and some shading. And then as a finishing touch for the lips and the mouth, I add some glossy accents by Ranger, which really makes it very, very, very glossy, and I'm glad that I did. Before I show you the end result, I want to thank everyone who has participated in last week's prompt. You are all so very talented. And that's it for my last drawsome video, which wasn't really drawing but more creating. The link to Aurora's channel is in the description box below, so please go and check that out. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit like and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!